the treaty.
Okay.
So if the court finds that the person is extraditable, the person will be handed over to the US.
We have a quick update regarding the case of a Kenyan lady in Boston who'd been reported missing since Monday, the 30th of October. Now, 31-year-old Mary Mbitu's body was found in a car at a Logan Airport garage on Thursday, according to the Massachusetts State Police and the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office. A news report filed by Boston's CBS affiliate WBZ says that investigators are looking for her partner, 40-year-old Kevin Kangethe of Lowell, who left Boston on a flight to Kenya. More recent reports indicate that Kangethe boarded the plane at Logan Airport immediately after the incident, and authorities issued a warrant charging him with murder. Now, a former FBI agent in an interview with WBZ said that things look good in terms of Kenyan authorities cooperating to apprehend the suspect. Now, the former agent further confirmed that the FBI, through its international office in Nairobi, has already communicated with Kenyan authorities on tracking down Kangethe and bringing him back for trial for justice. Now, first of all, before we get started, and on behalf of the OneMicShow, I wish to send condolences to the family, friends, and co-workers of Mary Mbitu, and we are praying for speedy justice in this case. I want to get started here, and I'm going to start with Omosh Fire on this tragic story. Now, Omosh, as you get ready, Salimia, like the audience, law enforcement authorities on this particular case, they seemed very, very confident. The warrant of arrest issued indicates they plan to charge Kevin Kangethe with murder. Now, we might have precedent on Kenyans who committed crimes in the past and fled being returned. Maybe Omosh Fire, you can just talk to us a little bit about this and what you think about this case.
Can you hear me? So basically, in relation to this particular case,
yeah, I think there's an issue with Omosh's mic, or I don't know.
Mic check 1 2 1 2.
Okay, now I can hear you. 3
4 8 9 58.
Okay.
Yeah. So back to the extradition from Kenya. We've had cases in the past of folks committing crimes stateside and not necessarily murder, and actually being extradited back. I think the most recent one that we remember was for there was someone who had, I think either they had molested either an underage or was it an elderly or something.
But that was an American. Was that?
No, it was a Kenyan.
It was a Kenyan who was here in the U.S. and escaped to Kenya.
Yes, and they were brought back. So again, those sorts of cases, and of course, murder is worse, right? So you would think that, and normally Kenya cooperates with the U.S. In cases like that. Even I think I could be wrong, but in cases where you have folks for a lot of the tax-related crimes that they commit, they come here, commit the crimes, and go back to Kenya. If they are found in Kenya, they bring them back, and normally the authorities in Kenya actually cooperate with them, of course, in conjunction with Interpol, so it's a whole other thing, and in a case like this one, I think basically I think the U.S. is going to push hard to get this person extradited. They might even, it depends again on how they're looking at it. They may even, of course, obviously involve Interpol, but maybe involve whatever cops they have on the ground on the other side as well, because they don't want to set a precedent where people commit crimes in the U.S. and then exit to a country somewhere, assuming that they won't be pulled back. Okay. So that probably would be what's going to push them more than necessarily the crime.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And I think actually this was not this, of course, like you said, it's not the first time a Kenya, or rather the U.S. authorities are pursuing a Kenyan for fleeing to Kenya. There was that case in Baltimore so many years ago of a lady who was called, I think, Anastasia Olwatch, who was, I think it was in 2013.
Was she a caregiver?
Yes, she was a
That's the one.
caregiver.
Yes.
Yeah. She was a caregiver. She went to Kenya, and she was hounded back to the U.S. on charges of abuse to an elderly person in the year 2007. So this was 6 years later.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes it takes that long to get the extradition.
Yes.
And I think the laws that Kenya has for extradition with the U.S. or other jurisdictions, they've made them easier for jurisdictions to get folks. So back then, it was a matter of, okay, so now you're gonna go to court, and then you play the game of court. Things are continued, this and that, and there's jurisdictional issues and so on and so forth. I think there was even the case of the guy in England. I think it was with some abuse-related things. I think he had religious, either it was a church or something, and that one went for the longest time before they were able to to get the guy either extradited or to even start trying to try him in the UK. So it again, all those relationships depend upon the country where the crime was committed, and how much they push. But with the US, it seems like they actually have a very good relationship with Kenya when it comes to things like extradition.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is that extradition law dates back to 1931. It was actually passed under the colonial government in 1931, and it was effected in 1935. So that's how long we've had extradition agreements with the United States of America, and I mean it's quite mind-boggling that we still have people who don't know that if you flee to Kenya, that's not a safe haven.
Well, this particular crime, unfortunately, and a lot of those sorts of crimes tend to be crimes of passion. So somebody may not necessarily think about those things. They just know that, okay, this has happened and I need to exit, and where can I go where I figure is safe space for me, not necessarily safe space from.
Yeah.
If you get what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And sometimes they maybe in their head they're saying, okay, you know what, at least let me go see my people one last time because, nekana nikubaya.
Okay. All right. I'm going to welcome Mike to the show. Like he's also been reading about this extradition agreements that Kenya has with the U.S. Mike.
So, December 2022, 1931.
I thought you were talking about somebody I know.
So that is when the treaty was signed, but it was entered into enforcement on June 24th, 1935.
Okay.
And
who was being extradited in 1935?
Boss, that is an agreement between those two parties at that time. Who knows?
This is even before Israel came about. Okay, sorry.
So so it says here, to extradite a person from Kenya to the United States, the U.S. government must first submit a formal extradition request to the government. The request must include information about the crime that the person is accused of committing, as well as evidence to support the allegation. So if the Kenyan government approves the extradition request, the person will be arrested, brought before a Kenyan court. The court will hold a hearing to determine whether the person is extraditable. Is it extraditable?
Yeah.
Ali, which one is it? Extraditable?
If the person will be extradited.
Under the treaty.
Okay.
So if the court finds that the person is extraditable, the person will be handed over to the U.S. So they give examples over here, has been used to extradite a number of people over the years. In 2023, an example was Mansour Mohammed Surur. A Kenyan citizen was extradited to the United States to face charges of large-scale trafficking of rhinoceros horns and elephant ivory and heroin, or is it heroin?
Heroin.
Distribution. And then, of course, the case you mentioned about the lady who had abused an elder.
That was in
that
Baltimore.
Lady,
yeah.
That was in Baltimore.
Anastasia Olwatch.
Uyo.
Yeah.
Haraka upes alijikuta huku.
I thought there was also something in Texas, or am I mixing apples with oranges?
No,
Yes,
so the one in Texas, and this is like what we had also been talking about this week. Now, also this week, unrelated to this story, there was also a video that was circulating on WhatsApp of a man running over like a woman with a car.
Yeah.
It's an old video.
No. Yeah, but okay, I know what you're talking about. That's not what I was talking about in terms
it-
of this, but yeah.
Oh, okay. It's an old video, but people had tagged some text to it saying that this was a Kenyan, and it actually wasn't a Kenyan. So I think, especially in such sensitive situations, it's very important to verify information that just comes, on a naked video with no citation of where it's coming from.
No source.
With no source.
And make sure your source is credible.
Yeah, so you see, like this case, for example, of this lady in Massachusetts, there had actually been flyers that were circulating around,
Right. Looking for her
because
she had been reported missing.
She had been reported missing. Before like the authorities unfortunately found her dead body
in the car.
In the car at Logan Airport. So and the latest reports actually indicate that this gentleman Kevin Kangethe left the country like right after. According to these reports, there's a lot of confidence when I was reading like the warrant, or what media was saying about the warrants. It's like the authorities are very confident. They feel like they have like a smoking gun, like on this guy. But like you said, there's a process that has
to be followed.
Yes.
And I think also, if you guys recall, there's some guys from Mombasa, like the brothers.
You're talking about Akasha.
The Akasha brothers.
The Akashas, yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
they were extradited, but remember, they were not. They did not commit a crime on U.S. soil.
They did not commit a crime on U.S. soil.
That's the difference.
But the difference with them is that the crimes they committed had something to do.
They affected.
They affected. Yes.
Yeah.